Welcome to BPH Crafts. I'm your host Heather, known as Bunnyfish on Ravelry, Instagram, and YouTube, and Heather Laws on Vero. Today is Thursday, the 15th of March, 2018, and I almost said 2015 there. Weird. And I don't remember the rest of my intro except the part where I say, grab some sticks and string and come sit with me. So yeah, I'm still feeling a little bit weird about the recording bit since I'm out of practice, but hopefully it'll get better each week. I am so grateful for all of you, for all of your comments last week on all of the socials and on YouTube. Thank you so much. I am using my nephew's laptop again this week, so there will be the Filmora thing across the bottom. So I'm trying this different angle. Let me know if this works better. Last week I didn't know there was going to be something on the across the bottom. There are so many dust motes. I'm sorry. I've been spring cleaning like crazy, including yesterday we removed a TV from this living room, and so there's dust. I'm really sorry if that's distracting. I will try not to make any more comments and bring attention to the fact that I can see the little shiny dust motes because I'm sitting with sun coming toward me. Anyway, that's a lot of stuff that is just blabber. But yeah, thank you so much. I'm so grateful. It's so nice to be back recording, and it was really, really nice to have the support from you guys coming back. Thank you to new subscribers. I had some of those. That was really exciting. So let's get into this. Okay, so let's go right into finished objects. I have one, which is not here. It is the Granny Square sweater. I finished it, and my niece has worn it to school, I think, every day since I made it, but maybe not quite every day. She really, really likes it. She took it to school, and she had tutoring on Tuesday, so the teacher who was there, who was my son's teacher last year, tried on her sweater, and it fit the teacher, so that was really kind of fun. She's a really petite teacher, so I don't know. I got a lot of compliments. I've been to the school several times this week, not for fun things, and I received a lot of comments about it. So that was really, really nice. Some specifications about it are that I made it using Lion Brand Scarfie in the Black Royal colorway and US I9 hook with which is a 5.5 millimeter hook. I did not use a pattern. I totally just made it up. And it turned out really, really well. She really, really likes it. I think it is really cute, and I no longer feel the need to make one of those sweaters. I don't generally feel that I need to make trendy looking items anyway, but every once in a while, everybody's making a thing, and then I feel like I have to make it. So I made it. It's out of my system, and I used approximately 1.5 skeins of Lion Brand Scarfie for her sweater, so I still have a couple skeins left of that. It's just the quantity that my sister bought it in. It's just never, ever, ever going to end. That's okay though. I'll figure out what to do with it next, but I'm not really obsessed with finding a use for it. It'll get used when it gets used. In other news about sweatery things, I very much want to make another sweater, so I'm planning already for April what my projects are going to be, and they will be. I have a design project that I really want to make using the leftovers from my last sweater. It's going to be a pair of socks. I've been sketching and writing notes. Now I just need to implement and then find test knitters and things. So that's really exciting. And I have it up on my shelf where I can see it all the time. Oh, look, by the way, the door got painted. It's finished. I finished it later that day. So yeah, I've been looking at that and wanting to work on it. And then next month, I'm also going to knit myself a version of the Sarah cardigan, which I knit for myself out of 716 knit. I don't remember if the base has a name or not, but it was a hamsters. Everybody wants petrified hamsters but doesn't know what to do with them. Order that, or yarn that Jenna custom dyed for me and then gifted to me. And it's just beautiful. I love it. I wear it all the time. If it were cooler right now, I would be wearing it. It's my go-to sweater because it's just really comfy and it's got some positive ease in it, so I can wear it over anything. And it's short sleeve, so it's not too hot. But I'm going to make myself another one of those using the green sweater. If you were following me on Instagram last month, I frogged my knit swirl sweater, and I will be using that yarn to make another Sarah because I really, really like the shape of the Sarah. And I just wasn't wearing the knit swirl because it didn't lay very well on me. So I have a sweater that I know that I'm going to wear, and I'm going to make it long sleeve because I do really like that the Sarah that I have right now is short sleeve, but in the deep winter, I think I would like a longer sleeve sweater better. So that is those are two of my plans for next month. I don't have all of my projects all planned out for next month, but those are the two that I'm like, I really want to cast those things on. I'm not, though, because clearly I have a lot going on. I don't need another project right now, but I desperately want another project right now. So works in progress. Let's talk about this one that I've been knitting on a little bit while I've been talking to you. These are the How Come That Blood by Adam Kaczynski. I'm using Knit Picks Stroll Fingering Red Wing Blackbird and US 1 2.25 millimeter needles. It can be a free pattern, or you can opt to pay for it. That is an option he gives you for it. I downloaded it for free, but I think I'm going to go back and purchase because, support designers and stuff. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the pattern that I don't feel is giving too much away. So there are these little purl ditches that make their way across, and then you cable to make the new column, and then you do that column for so many rows. So if you're a longtime viewer, you'll know that I do this. If the pattern doesn't change or if I need to count something, I stick a stitch marker in and then I just move it over by one stitch every time I go around. So that way I don't personally have to keep track. It keeps track for me. So I'm one stitch away from that stitch marker. Knit that stitch and then leave this stitch marker on the needle and knit the next stitch, go behind that, pick up the marker, and it's moved one over. Okay, so that is How Come That Blood, and it's in my Sewn by Lindsay bag, which has gone to the gym with me. So I've started going to the gym because my sister is forcing me to. She bought me a membership. She's paying for it, and we're both kind of using it, but she got it for me because I will go more frequently, and then she can just be my guest. So she bought the membership, and I've gone twice out of the past 3 days. That's pretty good, right? Today I just have too much to do. Honestly, on podcast days, I'm probably not going to go so that I can do what I need to do, record, edit, and then go back to doing all the other things that I need to do. And gym days, that's just not going to be a gym day. So that's fine. But the Sewn by Lindsay bag has gone with me both times. And the first day I did not knit, but yesterday I did knit. So that's pretty good. It's pretty fun. I love my Sewn by Lindsay bag. And let's see, what do we want to talk about next? Let's talk about Even Star. So my Even Star, I am through chart 3. There is there's a 4-row repeat that you repeat 6 times, and I finished that. So now I am back to needing to look at the chart in order to knit. But this is where I am. I am slowly working on this. One day I did, I just sat down and did a couple rows or rounds, but I have mostly been making progress on it by switching back and forth, doing a half a round after I work on these other projects throughout the day. So progress is being made. It's just, I really have to pay attention to this. I do want to get through that chart 3 by the end of this month so that I can wear this next month. I think once I get to the border, because it's a knit on edging, so it's shorter rows, I feel like that's going to fly. Even though there's beadwork on it, that's going to be so much easier to do than this, where I have to keep, moving stitches around the needles, because I'm using, what is this, probably a 36-inch cord. That's my general preferred cord length. So it's a lot of moving stitches around, and I don't think a longer cord length would help because my stitches aren't that bunched up. But yeah, it's fiddly. But it's beautiful. I'm going to love it. And I don't mind working on it when I'm working on it. It's not like I hate this project. I have to be able to sit down and work on it and really pay attention, which was definitely not my life yesterday. Yesterday, I had -6 spoons because I had to go to the school and sit with my nephew in class. And I didn't even like middle school when I was in middle school. Out of all of I liked school. I liked school a lot. I liked elementary school. I liked high school. I loved college. Middle school, though, was the worst thing ever. I liked my classes fine. I just did not at all like my classmates. And I feel the same about middle school yesterday. It was extremely stressful, and I understand that they're going through puberty. They're just getting into puberty, and that's really hard. So I'm not I know it's not their fault, but middle schoolers are just horrible. So yesterday I was just too stressed to do anything except work on the How Come That Blood. And I probably not on the Even Star, but maybe. I forgot last week to put in, what's that? Progress minder things, stitch markers that show how much progress you made, but I'm going to do it this week so that you can see I'm totally out of practice. It's fine, I'll get there. But after today's recording, I will put in progress keepers to show where I am, where I'm at next week, so you can see how much progress I made. Let's talk about the string band, which I'm wearing my personal string band that I love and is my go-to hat. Hi, Molly. What are you doing? You can't see her because she'll be under the Filmora, but here's my dog. She's beautiful and perfect. Okay, so here is string band, and as you can see, I added a few more gray stripes to it so that it looked intentional, that first larger gray stripe. It's garter ridges, and I accidentally did 2 gray garter ridges back to back instead of switching off the gray and the green. So then I intentionally put it in a few places. And now I am about to start section 1, because if you remember from last week, I started on section 3. I'm about to start section 1. That should go pretty quickly. And then I just have the button band. So this is what I'm starting, this ribbed portion right here. This is what I have done. This is what I was talking about, the tube to keep a cord through. So there's my cord. So I just have to do this part right here, and then this button band here, make a cord, and sew on buttons. I'm really hopeful that this project will be finished next week. I am not a person who loves garter stitch. Some people can knit it forever and ever, and they love it, and I just don't. I much prefer something with a little something, like the How Come That Blood. It's just a little bit of something, just every once in a while, to make it a little more interesting. But I did get the the garter stitch part. It's my least favorite part of this hat. I love the way it looks. I just hate knitting it. So I have that done. So this should go pretty quickly because I don't mind ribbing. At least it's something to do. It's changing things up. So hopefully by next week, this will be finished. I'm hoping to finish a couple projects this week. This is one of them. The yarn that I'm using is Premier Serenity Sock. Premier Serenity Sock Weight, which I purchased at Joann's in the woodsy green colorway and the charcoal colorway. You can't really, I feel like the nice part about this section too is it really, really blends the colors beautifully. And then you get the shock of the color on section 4. So I'm pretty excited about that. I really like how it's turning out. I like the mismatched stripes in it, actually. So maybe in the future, maybe for the last one, I'll do like bigger stripes, like maybe 5 garter ridges in one color and 5 garter ridges in the other. Probably not that much. I'm going to be using I don't know if it's self-striping or variegated yet or something like that for one color and then a solid black. So it'll probably be like 5 rows of the colorful one and then 3 rows or ridges rather of the black. We'll see. It doesn't matter. That might be a project next month though, so that I can just get those Christmas projects out of the way because I know I want to make them. So yeah, that's the string band by Stephen West. I knit the section 3 on US 3.25 millimeter needles, and all of the other sections, did I say section 3? I meant section 2. And all of the other sections on US 1 2.25 millimeter needle because I am a looser knitter than the pattern calls for gauge-wise. I would also like to finish this blanket by next week. This bag was not made by Haley. It was made by Crochet One Knit Two, or I think that's it. On Etsy, I will put it at the bottom or somewhere on the screen, probably not on the bottom, and definitely in my show notes. So if you like this cute little woodland creature bag, which how could you not because it's so adorable. Too bad there's sunlight. There we go. You can kind of see it. If you like it, go check out their shop and get yourself an adorable bag because I love this one. Well, here is the baby blanket. So last week I didn't know what the yarn was because it had been so long and it was in my stash and the ball band wasn't attached to it when I pulled it out of stash. So I didn't know what it was. And then because once upon a time, I actually used Ravelry for its intended purpose, which was keeping track of things. I found what the yarn is. Bernat Softy Baby Ombres and Prints in the Little Trees colorway. I love this color so much. And I got 2 skeins. Once upon a time, my sister-in-law gave me 2 skeins of 4 different colorways of yarn to make things for her babies. And then I made a sweater, a baby surprise jacket using this colorway, and I didn't use the other skein. And her babies are not babies anymore. And her mom is a very prolific knitter, so she didn't end up like needing more baby knits. So she just told me I could use the yarn for whatever. So I've been slowly making my way through that stash as my kids' teachers have become pregnant and things like that. Anyway, so Little Trees, and then this down here is the border is in avocado. Not avocado, guacamole. It's Red Heart Soft in the guacamole colorway. I just used a basic barn raising square recipe for the main portion of the body, and now I am doing seed stitch as the border. So knit 1, purl 1. It should go fairly quickly. It's pretty mindless as long as I can glance down every once in a while and make sure that I am doing the right one. I don't know how wide I'm going to make the border. I'm tentatively thinking 10 rounds around. I don't want it to be too big because this isn't a very huge blanket and I don't want it to look disproportionate. But I also want to make the blanket just a little bit bigger. It's not super tiny. Opened, it would probably be the length of my arm. So that's like a decent size blanket for a baby. But I just want to make it a little bit bigger, but I want it to be proportionate. So we'll see what I do. You'll know next week how far I get on that. I'm increasing every other round at the corners so it's 8 stitches increased every other round. And yeah, it's going really well. It's a really easy, mindless, almost time for bed project because I could mess it up, but I can't really mess it up. You know what I mean? So this was not in any sort of containment last week, but then I went to the store and I saw this beautiful basket, and I am a sucker for stars. I love stars. I just do. It's my favorite shape. So I saw this bin and I was like, I don't need that. But then it was on clearance and I was like, I might need it. I might. So this blanket is in here, and you might see that there's 2 more yarns that were not in here or involved in this project last week. Last week I was talking about this blanket, which is the Undercover by Beaded Jezik, and it is a lovely, it's meant to be a baby blanket. I'm making a throw. It's got these lovely petals, and I was using a Karen Big Cake for the center part in the Cookie Crumbles colorway, and now I have used up that entire cake. So I did, in fact, go out and get Karen 1 pound in off-white, and I'm going to work a few pattern repeats, I don't know, until I look at it and say, that looks big enough and I'm ready to start the border. So I don't know how much of the skein I'm actually going to use. Maybe all of it, maybe not. But you can see right here, this is where I started using the off-white. So not very much. The rounds are getting pretty big. I don't know exactly how big. I know that I have 90 stitches per side on this baby blanket, but I haven't counted how many stitches I have per side on this blanket because it doesn't really matter, but every once in a while I like to know. So it's getting big, and I used a US size 7 for the Cookie Crumbles part of this, and then I switched to a size 8 once I got to the off-white, purely because my size 7 circular was not a big enough circumference. So you can see that these stitches are pretty bunched up. I could not even move them around the size 7. And I couldn't find another size 7 to do like a 2-circ sort of thing with it. So instead, I just switched up to an 8, which was larger around, and I do know where another 8 is in case this becomes too much for one needle, which it quickly will. Before I'm finished, I'm going to need to put a second needle in this blanket, which means I'm going to have to, the other 8 is already in a project, so I'm going to have to put that on some sort of waste yarn, or more realistically, a knitting needle that I'm not currently using to hold those stitches. I also bought this gray Karen 1 pound. The tag fell off on the shelf at the store, and I had it through checkout, but then I lost it. Hi, Cereal. What are you doing? The cat just tried to jump up here and failed because of the basket, and I just dropped my blanket. So yeah, this is going to be for the border. I'm probably going to do a seed stitch border on it because I think that's what the pattern calls for, and I do like the way that it looks. And that's all of my works in progress, like the things that I work on all the time. So here is my modular project of the week. It is a granny stripe blanket by Addict23. On Ravelry, I don't know. I only used it for the setup and I didn't even follow it, and then I made a mistake, and I'm going to have to fix it when I do the border. I'm gonna make it right when I do the border. It'll be fine. I am using a US F5 hook, which is a 3.75 millimeter. I'm using leftover bits of sock weight yarn, and my pattern has, or my blanket has a definite pattern to it. So let me open it up. Okay. This is the length of it folded into quarters. So I want it to fit across my queen size bed. I am a third to a halfway there. I think I'm halfway there now, about. And it goes purple, blue, green, and then warm colors, and then purple, blue, green. And I'm in warm colors again. I have one more stripe of warm to go. It's 10 of each color, and then there's this gray charcoal stripe in between each segment, and I really, really like this, but shocker, I don't have a ton of warm colored yarn. It's not a palette that I purchase for myself very often, so that one I really have to like work to find mini skeins for, because I have rules about my modular and mini skein projects. This is the last blanket that gets anything. This is where the leftover tiny scrappy bits go, or larger scrappy bits go to be finally used up. In front of this, I have 3 mitered square blankets that get preference, and then barn raising square that gets preference, a bias stripe blanket that I'm knitting, and hexapuffs. So the yarn has to be either used or skipped over for all of those projects before it can go in here. Skipped over because some of the projects have specific limitations that I've placed on them. So I don't have a lot of pink and orange and yellow and red. So I have to figure out what I need to finish in order to get another pink stripe in. And it's not that I don't have pink scraps, because I do have some pink scraps, but I have to put them in all of the other things before I get here. So I'm going to have to focus on that in the coming weeks as I do my my modular projects. I'm looking over here because this is the bag that I have my modular projects in. They live in here, and the specific selection of yarn that I'm using right now is in here. So if I finish a project, the yarn automatically goes in here. But then I do have a few collections of mini skeins that I haven't broken into. Hopefully, next time you see it, it will have grown a pretty big amount but first I have to get this last warm colored stripe in. And I do have a particular rule for myself about this blanket. So not only does the color have to fit in with the stripe, I also only use each color one time, no, that's not true. Let me see. How do I want to say this? I only use the color across the stripe one time. So if it's a larger mini, I use it across the stripe and then put it back in the bag for the next section of this. There's a yellow stripe right here that is a full length across, and then a yellow stripe right here that's the same color. I just don't want the colors stacking, because I want it to be this more kind of variegated or tonal look. So I just don't want it stacking. And I know a lot of people don't care when they do their granny square blankets, and I have granny stripe blanket rather, and I have plans for another granny stripe blanket where I don't think it'll matter to me as much how it goes in there, like if there's a lot of rows of one color. But for this, I just wanted single rows, and then for instance, if I start a row with a small mini, don't make it across the row, and then start with another mini, and that mini makes it all the way across, I will use that same second mini in the same section of color, but just on the opposite side so they don't stack at all. I don't know if that makes sense. I hope it does, but it's just my own neuroses for my blanket. But I love it so much, and I can't wait until it's finished. I'm really excited for it to live on my bed maybe next winter, but I'm not holding my breath because it's not a huge priority. Although one of my New Year's resolutions for this year is to finish one of my long-term blankets, and there's like 10 of them. So this could be it. And once I get that stripe on there, I can't remember if I finished the thought or cut myself off. I do have a decent collection of purples and blues and greens to go in it. So those stripes are easy. It's just once I get to this warm section, then I'm like, oh, gotta start working on warm mini skeins so that I can get them in. Oh, that's cute. I could just wear it like a little wrap. A tangent story, because why not? When I started this, I started down here with this purple stripe, and I took it to a restaurant, and I actually got a lot of compliments on, oh, that's a beautiful scarf, when I was probably 7 rows in. And I was like, thanks. It is a really pretty scarf, and someday it'll be a gorgeous blanket. So I'm pretty excited about that one. I am going to talk about reading this week, and I am only going to talk about the books. I'm only going to talk about some of the books I'm reading, not all of the books I'm reading, because I am reading more than one. I don't generally read only one book unless I just don't, because books, I need different styles of books to fill different niches in my life. So, for instance, just because I'm talking about it, I'm going to tell you about some of the books I'm reading, but I'm not going to show them, and I'm only going to mention them really quick. So I'm reading a book that's called Between the World and Me, which is an open letter from a father to a son about being in our times while being a Black man. And I heard it mentioned in a book that I read last month, which was We're Going to Need More Wine, which was also really good. And so I'm reading that, but it's not a book that I carry around because I need to focus on what's being said during that book. And then I'm reading a book about calligraphy, but I only read like 5 pages a day when I read it, and I don't read it every day because it's more of an informational text sort of thing. So I'm not going to talk about those all the time, but I just wanted to mention that I do read a lot of books at once. I just read them for different purposes. So I'm only going to talk about certain ones on here, not every book that I'm reading. If you're interested in that, I'm on Goodreads. I think I might be Heather Laws. I don't know. If you want to know, send me your information somewhere else on social media, and I will get that information to you so that you can see what I'm reading all the time, because I have been really good since the beginning of the year at updating that. So what I do want to talk about is there are books about the Disney villains by Serena Valentino. And these are just 2 of them. I think there's 4 total. This is the second one. It's called The Beast Within. And I will caution that if you have not seen the Disney movies, that maybe these are not good books to read, because I feel like a lot of what happens, I feel like you're expected to know the backstory as you're reading these books, for sure. And the first one is about Snow White. It's just, there's big leaps of time in these books, and they're not what is that? Annotated, I guess. It doesn't, the chapters are like, oh, you can't see that, sorry. The Witches in the Rose Garden, that's chapter 1. But it doesn't give any like 5 years earlier or 20 years earlier or 10 years later or 5 years ago. None of that. So it makes, this one specifically makes big jumps in time, but doesn't say. So if that's something that's going to drive you crazy, just letting you know that happens. There's no indication. You just have to pick up that they're talking about the past or the present, which I feel is a little bit confusing, or can be a little confusing, especially because these books are, JFIC, can you see that? These are for small humans. It's in the junior fiction section, so not even young adult section. This is for, elementary school kids. But I still enjoy it. And they're really easy to read at the gym on the treadmill because larger font and short words, and the chapters are fairly short, less than 10 pages, I would say. So this, I enjoyed it, but I've also seen the Disney movies that these are based on multiple times. Snow White was my dad's favorite Disney movie, so I'd seen that forever. I love Beauty and the Beast. Love it. It's my favorite Disney movie. Closely tied by a couple others, but I feel like Beauty and the Beast was where heroines really came into their own and weren't just waiting to be rescued, but actively going out and making a name for themselves. And so I will forever love Beauty and the Beast for that. I have not read the third book in the series because these are library books, and I requested all 4 of them, and the third one hasn't come to me yet. So I haven't read it, but I decided, especially because this is a new book, which means it's more likely to get requested by another patron, I decided I would just go ahead and read the 4th one. This book, the second book, sets you up for the 3rd book, and this 4th one definitely refers to things that happened in the 3rd book, but I don't feel that it's 100% necessary to have read the 3rd book before reading the 4th book. And this one, so far, I'm only literally a third of the way through. I'm on page 103 of 309. That was exciting when I saw that this morning because I'm a number nerd. This one, so these books are based on the Disney movies, but they all tie into each other. And this one I feel is a much better standalone. I don't feel so far that you need to know as much backstory for this one for it to make sense as was needed for the first 2. But this one is called The Beast Within, and this is Mistress of All Evil. The first one is Fairest of All. Yes. And then the 3rd one, which I'm really excited to read, is about one of my favorite Disney villains. Also, I would say that Beast is not the villain in the movie. Gaston is clearly the villain. Beast is just an anti-hero. But, okay, that's just me nitpicking a Disney movie apart. So Ursula, she is the main villain of the 3rd book, and I love her character. I just think she's such an interesting character, and I'm really intrigued to hear her backstory via Serena Valentino. Okay, you guys, I think that's all that I wanted to talk about, hopefully. Otherwise, I'll talk about it next week. Thank you for joining me, and I just want to say one more time that I'm really, really grateful for how supportive everybody has been this past week about me getting back into podcasting. And I will continue to work on, I think I'm going to keep this my seat. And so this light situation is going to be this where things are washed out. But I think that, like, if it's okay with you guys, is it fine with you if I just put in pictures? Let me know. If it's way too distracting that this is blown out, let me know that too. And I will maybe find an alternate place to sit. And yeah, I'm really enjoying the feedback. Hopefully the bar across the bottom, I can't think of what that's called, the banner, won't be so distracting. Let me know if I'm not holding things up high enough. I will do my best. I will do my best to work with what I have. You let me know if it's working for you or if you have any suggestions. Because right now this is probably what's going to work best, this location, because this is where I keep my crafting during the week. Yeah. Thank you so much. I hope you made something fantastic with your sticks and string, and I will see you next week. Bye!